Hello, bonjour, bonsoir. From Toronto, I'm going to do another record review. Tonight, I'm going to talk about Untitled, the seventh studio album from German industrial powerhouse Rammstein. Now, this album came out in May, so it's not the newest, but if they can take a decade to put out an album, I think it's fair to take a little while to figure out what I'm going to say about it. So in this video, I'm going to try and answer a couple questions. Was the decade-long wait worth it? How perverted are the lyrics this time around? And I'm sure the question on everyone's mind, okay, maybe just mine, is Rammstein the AC/DC of industrial music? Think about that. Before we get into the album dissection, I have a confession to make. When I first heard of this band way back in 1997, I thought they were a joke. I got the soundtrack to Lost Highway because Trent Reznor did the score, not because I like David Lynch movies, but it came on a compact disc, as was the style of the time. There were these tracks on there, something called Rammstein, and I thought that it was a joke because it was so over the top. I actually thought it was a fake German industrial metal band created by Trent or someone in the American scene as a lark. And yeah, I also, for the first, well, way too long, referred to this band as Rammstein, even though the correct pronunciation is literally right there in the first song that I ever heard from the band. So the point is, a lot has changed since 1997. This band is now world famous, no small part due to Du Hast being in Guitar Hero. I think it's funny that it would be considered a metal song because honestly, it's a goth disco song. But whatever the case, it helped to propel them from any kind of underground they may have been in, like right through to the charts, where they've stayed for pretty much 25 years using the same lineup. In between albums, they go on these massive tours, infamous, controversial for sexual scenes and pyrotechnics. Dare I say, this is the most important, famous, successful, biggest industrial music band of all time. More than Ministry, more than Nine Inch Nails, more than Skinny Puppy. Sad to say, they're my favorites, but Rammstein are truly international phenomena if you look at the globe as a whole. And over a long period of time, 25 years is a long time to stay in the public eye. And every time they put out a new song, a video, they go on tour, people are talking about them, people are writing about them. And I would hesitate to, I wouldn't go as far as calling them mainstream, but if you like heavy music, they're practically a household name. Which, in case you were wondering, is not Rammstein. Anyway, fast forward to 2019. What do they have to offer us? What do they have to say about the state of the world? Is it more of the same? And do I like it? Here's some criteria that was in my mind as I listened to the record preparing to review it for you all. Is it heavy? Is it weird? Is it fun? Can I dance to it? Well, it's definitely heavy. The first song on the record, which is also the first single, is called Deutschland, and it is heavy in like a guitar riffing, musical sense, but also thematically. It talks about Germany's role in the current geopolitical climate, and the band maybe not being so happy with where things are at. The video is epic.
Übermächtig, überflüssig, Übermenschen, überdrüssig.
I thought that the record was going to be more political because this song was off the top, and it wasn't really, but I think it was a good sort of like opening salvo that the band is back and they're doing what people expect. My favorite song on the album is actually one of the heaviest. The English translation is Show Yourself. I'm not going to show my bad German pronunciation, but as a side note, I'd be very curious to hear in the comments what German words you have learned from listening to Rammstein records. Rammstein records. It's muscle memory. It's still in there somewhere. I learned the word for mother and the expression bend over. Don't use those together in a sentence. I don't recommend it, but show yourself on this album, Untitled. I dig it. It has a choir, seems to have a religious theme. I think it's got the heaviest guitars on the album, which I quite like. There's another song called Tattoo, which is sort of heavy rock, but also a bit like same, been there, done that. The overall heaviness, though, if I was going to put my Martin Popoff hat on, my old colleague from Banger, Martin Popoff, I would dock points for like the ballads. There's like an acoustic song and like their version of a power ballad. Don't know that we need those. Really brings like the heavy score down, but you know, heavy enough if that's what you're looking for. Those Rammstein riffs are here. Is it weird? Not really. Rammstein has this reputation of being perverted because they write a lot about sex, but to me they do it in a pretty matter-of-fact way. Nothing that's should be so outrageous if we lived in a normal and civilized world. On this album, the sex songs are pretty dark. That's the thing. A lot of people have talked about Puppet or Doll, which is a song about a small child whose sister is a sex worker, and he's locked in a closet with a doll while she is working and is beaten and murdered. It's a really intense track, very slow and grinding, and the vocals are extremely pained and painful to listen to. I think it's really the core of this work and will be one of the best sort of respected, known, referenced Rammstein songs in their canon. There's another one that closes the album, a similar vibe, about like luring a child to assault, and just like this real ickiness. Auslander could be about sex tourism, could just be a guy that uses Tinder a lot with consenting adults, but it's kind of unclear. Sadly, this also is matter-of-fact stuff that happens. They're not making up, they're not twisting anything. But also, I don't know, other than presenting these very disturbing, nightmarish story scenarios, that they're really making any statements about anything. So how can you have a fun record with those kinds of songs on it? They do. They wrote Radio or Radio, which is so fun it almost crosses the line to me into being a goofy. A little bit too much fun for Lisa, I would say. So in the end, I enjoyed listening to this. I have my favorite heavy tracks. I would dance to them in a club. But this band for me will remain a live experience. I want to see them on like a stage with pyro and costumes and huge volume going crazy. I probably wouldn't choose to have someone yell at me in German at home. But if you would like that, you can buy this for $10 online or in a fancy vinyl format for $50. The thing is, though, they're still kicking. Like, it's a good record. They haven't made a misstep yet. And so another 10 years, hopefully, won't go by before they put out another album. But wait, I didn't answer the question about AC/DC yet. Okay, this is what I think. AC/DC is one of the most famous, successful rock and roll bands in history. They come from a country that did not invent that genre, but they mastered it and they sold it to the world. They basically have like one or two songs that they've repeated over and over again. They have a lot of fun with their live shows, big pyro, lots of like fire, and they also have fun with sex. My favorite AC/DC line is not from Hell's Bells or Back in Black, but is actually, "Let me cut your cake with my knife." And that sounds like something that would be on a Rammstein album. So a part of me thinks that yes, Rammstein is very much the AC/DC of industrial music and is carrying that legacy forward. So if that makes any sense to you, let me know. Before we go, I do have a few records I want to mention quickly that I've been listening to. I think you should also check out. If you like industrial metal, industrial rock music, you should know there's a new album by Three Teeth called Meta War. These are Americans who are really holding the torch aloft, the blowtorch, the flamethrower for industrial music in 2019. It's a bit nostalgic retro 90s to me, their sound, but solid, consistent work. And if you're into this kind of music and would like to hear a newish band and you don't know Three Teeth, you should try and listen to that. Personally, I'm really digging something called Caligula by the artist Lingua Ignota, which I hope I'm saying right. She's an American singer and songwriter, and she is angry, like Diamanda Galas level angry. This album is the closest I've heard anyone come to a Diamanda Galas album, to be honest. The trained operatic vocals, the use of experimental sounds and noise to convey a very pained point of view. This is basically a rape revenge nightmare movie on a record. Very feminist, very strong. And if you think that's your vibe, Caligula is out now. Something else a little bit experimental is Wear Your Wounds, Rust on the Gates of Heaven. This is a side project for Jacob of Converge with some friends this time around. If you like your rock records to be slow, emo, melancholic, post-rock, almost orchestral or soundtrack-like, this might be your jam. Finally, Pix. P-I-X-X. I discovered this band completely by accident. They were the opening act at a show that I kind of got invited to and didn't know much about. The girl comes out, the singer comes out looking like 1970s Susie Sue, got my attention. Great voice. And I dig some of the songs, not all of them. It's a mix of like synth pop and like Brit pop, but there's some post-punk numbers on there. I dig Disgrace is a good song. So also a good reminder sometimes to just get there for the opening act. You may be surprised. Thank you, Pix, for that surprise. And thank you all for watching this channel, whether you are new because you care about Rammstein or you have been watching me for a while. I love talking about music and I hope to do more and more of that. So let me know, as always, in the comments what you'd like to hear from me, and I'll do my best to get back soon. Thanks. Bye.